into Kwara explosion. Police arrest 8 Yoruba Nation agitators for roadblocks and assault in Ogun State, and National Assembly directs regazetting of new tax laws amid controversy. Details now. Thank you for staying tuned. The World News at 6 begins with the federal government confirming ongoing security and intelligence cooperation with the United States following recent airstrikes on terrorist positions in Nigeria's northwest region. In a press statement issued today, the Nigerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs said the Nigerian authorities remain engaged in structured collaboration with international partners, including the United States of America, to tackle terrorism and violent extremism. The United States had carried out multiple airstrikes on Islamic State ISIS militants in northwest Nigeria. President Donald Trump announced the development on Thursday, saying the operation targeted fighters accused of killing mainly Christians in the region. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said the partnership has contributed to precision hits on terrorist targets in Nigeria by airstrikes in the northwest. According to the statement, the cooperation follows established international practice and bilateral understandings and includes intelligence exchange, strategic coordination, and other forms of support. The government stressed that the collaboration is conducted consistent with international law, mutual respect for sovereignty, and shared commitments to regional and global security. It added that the protection of civilian lives guides Nigeria's counter-terrorism efforts, the safeguarding of national unity, and the upholding of the right and dignity of all citizens. The ministry noted that terrorist violence, regardless of the target, remains unacceptable. Meanwhile, an explosion has rocked and damaged parts of 4 buildings in Offa, Kwara State on Thursday night, injuring about 5 people, including a couple and their little daughter. The sad incident occurred along the Offa-Ijagbo Road. According to a landlady whose house was damaged, the incident occurred at about 10 p.m. when she started hearing an unusual humming noise, which later led to the object falling on her building. Another eyewitness who spoke off camera said an artisan was also affected, with 4 adjoining buildings severely damaged. Assessing the damages, the chairman of Offa local government area, Olatunji Suleiman, allayed the fears of community members. He explained that it was not a bomb, as military personnel have visited and are currently investigating to determine the exact material involved. In a recent development, no fewer than 8 suspected separatist agitators have been arrested in the Songwater axis of Ogun State for allegedly attacking police personnel and disrupting public peace on Christmas Day. The suspects, said to be operating under the banner of the Democratic Republic of the Yoruba, reportedly mounted illegal barricade at Temidire Junction and the underbridge area of Songwater, blocking major roads, setting bonfires and obstructing vehicular movement. In a statement issued today in Abeokuta, the State Command spokesperson, DSP Oluseyi Babasheyi, confirmed the suspects were also accused of engaging in unlawful assembly, obstruction of traffic, and assaulting officers deployed to restore order. The command noted that on Christmas Day at Temidire Junction and Underbridge Songwater, a group agitating under the aegis of Democratic Republic of the Yoruba unlawfully barricaded roads, set bonfires, disrupted free flow of traffic, and attacked police officers deployed to maintain law and order. According to Babasheyi, operatives were mobilized to the scene following distress reports and successfully dispersed the gathering before arresting all 8 suspects. The police said the suspect would be charged in court after the conclusion of the investigations. In the meantime, the leadership of the National Assembly, led by Senate President Godswill Akpabio and Speaker of the House of Representatives Tajuddin Abbas, has directed the clerk to regazette Nigeria's newly enacted tax laws following growing controversy. The directive was disclosed today in a statement by the spokesperson of the House of Representatives, Honorable Akin Rotimi, who said the National Assembly had commenced a review of the tax laws to address concerns raised in the public space. According to him, the decision to regazette the laws was taken to provide clarity and ensure accuracy in the legislative record, stressing that the matter is being handled strictly within the constitutional and statutory powers of the National Assembly. Rotimi explained that the leadership ordered the regazetting of the acts and the issuance of certified true copies of the versions duly passed by both chambers. He noted that the step is purely administrative and aimed at properly authenticating and reflecting the legislative decisions taken by the National Assembly. Meanwhile, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has accused President Bola Tinubu of deliberately delaying the enforcement of local government financial autonomy for political gains, alleging that the issue is being used to pressure governors into joining the ruling All Progressives Congress APC. Atiku made the accusation while reacting to recent comments by President Tinubu on the Supreme Court judgment that granted full financial autonomy to Nigeria's 774 local government councils. According to him, the president's handling of the matter shows a lack of political will and respect for the Constitution. The Supreme Court, in a unanimous judgment delivered in July 2024, had ruled that it is unconstitutional for state governments to control or withhold funds meant for local government. The Apex Court also declared the use of caretaker committees illegal, insisting that only democratically elected local councils are recognized under the 1999 Constitution. During the 15th National Executive Committee meeting of the APC held at the Presidential Villa in Abuja, President Tinubu had called on state governors to comply with the judgment. He warned that a failure to do so could force the federal government to issue an executive order mandating direct allocation of funds to local government from the federation account. However, Atiku faulted the president's approach, insisting that there was no need for further warnings or threats. The former vice president, who is now a chieftain of the African Democratic Congress ADC, alleged that the delay was intentional and politically driven. He further accused the president of undermining constitutional governance for partisan advantage. Atiku warned that continued failure to implement the ruling amounts to a serious constitutional breach. You're listening to the World News at 6 on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. I'm now being joined by Comrade Ayoyinka Oni, a human rights activist and public affairs analyst, for the analysis segment on the World News at 6 this evening. Good evening to you, Comrade, and thank you for joining us today.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here. Compliment of the season, by the way.
Yes, same to you. Happy holiday.
Thank you very much. All right, let's get into the issue. The police arrested 8 Yoruba Nation agitators, saying they mounted roadblocks. They set up a bonfire in the middle of the road and even assaulted policemen while advocating for the Democratic Republic of the Yoruba. Now, this is coming just after the U.S. strike on northwest Nigeria, particularly in Sokoto State, where they said they were targeting ISIS, Boko Haram, ISWAP, and other terrorist elements who they claim have been involved in a Christian genocide in Nigeria. Would you say that growing dissatisfaction with not just the current administration, but the structure of Nigeria as a whole is pushing certain regions to separatist agendas?
Thank you so much. The separatist agenda or the secessionists, as they have been tagged, is not a new occurrence. This has been on from probably the inception of the independence, and it did not even originate first from the southwest or from the east. In fact, one of the groups that started this discussion or this issue of separating was even the northwest, the northern part of the country. So it's not a new thing. But what continues to prevail, despite all this agitation, is the fact that the people that find themselves in governance or in government have refused to do the needful. And what is the needful? We have said it time without number. We don't understand the issue. And there's a need for a structural change of this country, restructuring, total restructuring of the affairs of this country, the economic state of this country, the sharing formula, the resources sharing, and the power sharing formula. But the people in power have refused to do that, and that's why we continue to have these issues of people coming and protesting and all that they want to separate. And for your state, I think this is the second time in a space of maybe a year that people are getting arrested.
No, this is actually in Ogun State, Comrade Ayo.
Okay, but there was one in Oyo.
Yes. They were waving flags, and they went towards the government house and they were arrested.
Exactly, and they were arrested. And here we have another one in Ogun State. But I don't think the government have the right to arrest them for protesting or for bonfire. For assault on police officers, if that is confirmed, that is a different case. But yes, this issue will continue to prevail until we address the fundamental problem of our society.
But these people can see how it turned out for Sunday Igboho when he was agitating. I mean, right now he still talks about it, but he's not exactly actively agitating. Why would they still go ahead and go on the roads? And I mean, blocking people from passing by the roads, how exactly does that help their agenda? If they really want the Yoruba nation, wouldn't you say that there are other ways they could go about it without actually resorting to attacking police officers, stopping people from going about their daily lawful duties, setting up bonfires in the middle of the road, and, you know, literally just constituting what the police has called a nuisance? They could have written letters, they could have sought audience with the people that matter if they really meant what they want to do. Or would you say these people are just mischief makers?
Well, I don't know them personally, so I'm not going to conclude on who they are, but I'm going to talk about the process of whatever they have done. I met a old woman some months ago, almost a year now, who is almost 90, and she told me that apart from the Igbo group, that there is a Yoruba nation group that even believe that they have already created their nation already, and they have people that are employed as leaders already. That they are not Igbo people, they don't protect. They are just in a group. And they say all that is left is for the governors to be removed. What am I trying to drive? That regardless of whether people are on the street or people are in their homes, there is a fundamental problem with the fact that people are tired of the state of the country. It is clear. And all will react, plan, and take action based on their capacity. So those that have the capacity to go to the road will go to the road. Those that have capacity to write letters will write letters. Those that have capacity to just grumble in their community will grumble. Those that have capacity to set up a group and just have this delusion that they have a Yoruba nation already will do it. But the people in power have refused to take action. If I was in government, I would be more scared and concerned about those that are even planning and they are not known. There are about 60 million Yorubas in the southwest, you know, and you just arrested 9. Do you think it's just those 9 that have problems with the state of the country? If we address the fundamental problem of our society, it will naturally reduce separatists and people that want to secede from the country. So it is not in our place to say, oh, this is how they should act, this is what they should do, this is how they should demand. They have been in the country for how many years? Maybe 30 years ago, maybe 40 years, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, and they have seen that things continue to remain as it is. And that's why people will take action separately. So we must point fingers to the government that have refused to do the right thing. At this time, the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Are we going to continue seeing these kind of demonstrations? And do you think it will degenerate into face-offs with government forces or security agencies, especially as there's growing discontent, like I said, not just with the present administration, but with the structure of the country as it is right now?
We are going to continue, and I'm going to quickly take us down a little bit.
Are you part of the Yoruba Nation agitators?
No. I'm saying we are going to continue to see this. I'm not. We are not for separating of society, but we understand those that are demanding for it, and we say clearly as revolutionaries that is their right. Is how the government react to it that matters. Before now, we had the Niger Delta militants that were saying they are not getting enough resources from their oil, and they did an undo in this country with kidnapping here and there, bombing of pipeline and here and there, until the amnesty program solved the problem. But it did not solve the problem of the Niger Delta. That is solving those things till date. And that was one of the reasons why Kesarila was killed in this country. After that, we had the people of the South East, the Biafra, well, we are still facing now. And the Yoruba nation are now even springing up the more. These issues are prevalent and clear of the failures of governments. Nobody will come out to protest if he's getting health care, if his children are going to good schools, and we will have constant electricity and good roads, and the citizens are well catered for. Nobody will come out and be demanding for a nation. Whereas you see people protesting for a dog to be given more treatment because they as human beings are already okay. But in the case of Nigerians are suffering insecurity, pain and everything. Then of course we continue to see these things, and it's not in the power of me and you to stop it from happening. The only power we have is to speak to the government to do the right thing or get them out of power. That's the power that we have.
All right, while we're talking about this, of course you do know that there was a US airstrike in Nigeria which has been condemned by certain Nigerians, including the Moyele Sowore. Sheikh Gumi has also condemned it, saying the US is not a country that Nigeria should be liaising with. Also, many Nigerians who have expressed their opinion on and off social media believe that the Nigerian government may not have been aware of that strike before it took place, even though the Ministry of Foreign Affairs released a press statement this morning saying they were aware it was an intelligence and security cooperation between the Nigerian government and the US government. Let's hear your take on that.
For now, we still believe that is a lie, and it is unrealistic. Because if you read the tweets of Donald Trump carefully, he mentioned nothing about liaising with the Nigerian government. Nothing of such. In fact, the tweet was not only disrespectful, it was saying we are going to continue to bomb until you do this and this. Clearly, he tweeted it. So if a foreign affairs minister is coming out and saying the liars and all that, you will know that there's a foul play in that story. But let's go back to the issue. And this is the issue. That a country that said he has gained independence since 1960, meaning he controls his affairs from local to state and foreign. A missile was sent by another foreign country, government on its own, to your country. First of all, we have no sovereignty. Our economy is not controlled by us. All Nigerians know that. Our policies are not controlled by us. All Nigerians know that. Now, they have even made it worse. We don't even have control over our warfare. We don't even have control over our military. So now you can be sitting down and preparing for holiday, and Donald Trump is preparing to bomb another state, to bomb another local government, to bomb another village. Who gives another president such right to bomb any country? This is the most populous black nation in the world, and we cannot control what missile goes to our country. How we are going to tackle our insecurity. This is the failure of the government and a disgrace to our country. So the question to ask is now, what is the limit of Donald Trump? When is he going to stop as he has started? When is he going to stop? The government does not have control to tell him when to fire, when not to fire. When is he going to stop to fire? What if he decides to send bomb on Aso Rock? These are the questions that Nigeria should be asking. Now we don't know who they bomb, what they bomb, the casualties, whether they were civilians. We don't know anything. And the people that say they give the intelligence have not given any intelligence. Imagine if it was Nigerian government that gave intelligence. Would they not have known the people that were there? Would they not have given us the record of those that were killed there now? But everybody is sitting down and waiting for Donald Trump or the US military to release full details. We are in trouble as a nation. We are in trouble that we have a US that has never, and I want Nigerians to quote me to listen carefully, because Nigerians are making mistake. I see a lot of people dancing on the missile. The United States of America has never ended terrorism in any country. You can quote me. They have fought so much war and have not ended any single terrorism in any country. Instead, they have even installed terrorist group as a government. There's Syria, there's Afghanistan, there's Libya. Those are the latest example. That is what we have that we are liaising with. If Nigeria want to liaise with any foreign government or foreign military to help them in stopping terrorism, it should not in any way be the United States of America. It should be a country that has no bias, that's not interested in your resources, that's not interested in your policies, that's just interested in helping you, using their little military, coming down, sitting with you, sitting with your military, and discussing how to clear off the terrorists, not sending missile. The solution to Nigeria's military problem is not missile. It's economy, it's educational, and it's military intelligence.
Thank you,
and that
comrade.
is what we have refused to do.
Thank you, comrade. Thank you so much for your thoughts and for your perspective on the world news at 6 this evening. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
All right, enjoy the rest of your evening and your holiday. I have right here in the studio Jerry Apelohai, and he will also be giving us his own perspective on the news this evening. Jerry, thank you so much for joining me today, and happy holidays to you as well. While we're talking about the US airstrike in Nigeria that landed in Sokoto State, we're also seeing what appears to be an unidentified flying object or an unidentified falling object literally an explosion that occurred in Kwara State, and people are saying they don't know what this is. Right now, the chairman of the local government where this occurred is saying, "Oh, it was not a bomb blast. That's not what it was." Then what is it? Are we having other nations now making military incursions into Nigeria without our own military and intelligence community being aware of it? Is Nigeria now a free-for-all where we see different nations coming to offer helping hands, meanwhile they have hidden agendas? As that is the fear that was expressed by Ayoyin Kaoni.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. I think the thing is that leadership started failing when some certain leaders were boasting that they brought some sending militias from other parts of the world, from the Sahel region, to come and try and unseat a sitting government, and such people were left without being charged with treasonable offenses. And we've seen incursion of this so-called terrorists from the Sahel region, from Sudan, the fallout of Libya, and so on and so forth. These things were not tackled head-on from the beginning. We kept on paying lip service to everything that has to do with insecurity. When the Boko Haram issue started, it looked like it was going to end. All of a sudden, after Obasanjo left office, well, remember that he tried to cut the snake on the head by killing the leader of the Boko Haram group. We thought that was over, but all of a sudden, I think at the end of the day, you find out that I don't know whether democracy has become a cause in terms of this, the way insecurity has been handled right from the days of the Niger Delta militants. I knew deep down my mind that this amnesty issue is going to be a big problem Nigeria will be solving for a very, very long time, because other militias,
Nigeria should not have granted amnesty to the Niger Delta militants.
I don't. The thing is that when you're trying to, the way you solve it will determine whether it will continue. I've seen several situations where government of different countries try as much as possible to make sure that you discourage any form of would I say terrorism, any form of violence against the state, resources, or whatever the case may be. But why is it that, okay, the mentality of some of the pressure groups who believe that these guys are fighting a cause, taking away that these guys are kidnapping young ones, kidnapping citizens, and taking ransom, killing people, whether Christian or Muslim, and so on and so on, causing havoc. And some people are even coming on air and saying that they are fighting a cause. They should grant the amnesty, just like the way amnesty was granted to the Niger Delta militants. You see, at the end of the day, you find out that I don't know. Back in the military days, I don't know, Abacha would not stand in the way where somebody will come out from nowhere and start forming militancy or whatever.
One could argue that the case with the Niger Delta militants was very different from what we have
now. But that is not the mentality that these guys are driving with.
We talked about Kenta Oriwa, who was an environmentalist, and what he kept saying was, you are polluting our land, which is what the Niger Delta militants were also saying. You're polluting our land, our people should be the better off for it. You cannot be polluting our land and then leaving our people impoverished, leaving our people living below the poverty line. And we still have that issue up until now. But the Niger Delta militants seem to have been settled. They've gone their own ways.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think one of the also the major problem that we experienced in the north has been the fact that educating the masses has not been impressive. Because if you take a look at the stats right from the days of pouring down to the military, down to the democratic era, I expect the governors would have tackled the issue of lack of education in the north. I think I did a research, was it 2022? I found out amazingly that it's not amazing, startling, that the highest rate of out of school children comes from the northern region, and it beats even the world record when it comes to out of school children. And these people are filtering and as resources to militancy, to terrorism, you name it. Nothing is being done. We keep on playing lip service. I heard the other commentator talking about the fact that a lot of people have been left as a source of weaponry to these people, and our democratic system is not looking like it's going to be a solution. Nobody's asking the governors to be accountable. Do you know, as we speak, there's still a lot of children who are out of school who will be a source to this terrorist? I think I even saw I think I saw a report where somewhere in Kogi State that there are camps that have been set aside where they recruit these young people as little as 6 to 16, recruiting them and setting up camps to train them to become terrorists and so on and so on and so forth.
You know, there was actually a video making the rounds, and some said the video came from Oyo, some said it came from Ondo, of a particular Islamic preacher like an Alfa, and then he assembled boys, both young and old, and they were waving
with
the
Palestinian flags and so on.
And then, you know, they were the rhetorics. It was not something that was sounding very nice. And when you release these children into the larger society, I mean, in all of this, do you blame those who say that there is a jihadist agenda in Nigeria and that the federal government is pretending not to see it?
The thing is that what I've observed over time is that these so-called bandits, jihadists, and so on and so forth, all of them, they are into business. They find out that it's a money-spinning business. That is why they're all going into it. Not because they have an agenda to maybe legitimate agenda to even say they are fighting a cause. Every one of them, they are making lots of money. We've seen some of them post video on TikTok, buying new bikes, spending money they can never achieve in their lifetime. All of a sudden, so they're even just like the when armed robbers, and of course the so-called Yahoo boys are flaunting their wealth. A lot of people are attracted and want to go into the same business. Banditry, crime has become a booming business in Nigeria. That is why it is now encouraging a lot of people to set up camps. Let me say, for instance, that man that is trying to set up, at the end of the day, he's getting resources from so-called myopic people who believe that they are fighting a jihad and sending him money to encourage such front. At the end of the day, this man is eating fat and making lots of money, making resources for himself. At the end of the day, in the cover that he's promoting a jihadist movement and so on and so forth.
But if you say it's just a business, or it's a money-making venture for these people have networks that go beyond Nigeria. Do you know that there was an attack in a church in Niger Republic?
Yeah.
In Niger Republic, between yesterday and today, they literally kidnapped a couple, right? They took them away or killed them. So if these people have large networks. I don't know if you saw, there was this documentary then, it was called maybe Conflicts for Jihad or so. I don't know if you watched that particular documentary, and it traced it. Well, not everybody's happy with the person who carried out that research, but then it makes you wonder what exactly is going on underhand that we don't know about. While you and I are here thinking about the future, thinking about how we can make the best of ourselves, maybe you want to work with the international media tomorrow, you're thinking of how you can raise your children in a great country. It seems that there are some people somewhere who are actually thinking about something that is very different from what you're thinking about, and then they have a large network of people who are funding them. They have a large network of fighters who are ready to go the extra mile. There was a suicide bombing in Maiduguri on Christmas Eve. So what are we talking about? Does the Nigerian intelligence community have what it takes to nip this issue in the bud?
Unfortunately, no. Because take a look at our National Assembly, where we hear anywhere you see food today, just eat. Where people with questionable character are being nominated for government positions, and nobody is able to ask them, why should this person be a nominated candidate to become an ambassador? Why, recently a House of Rep member pointed out that the talking about the bill that was presented is different from the one that they assented to, and nothing is happening, where they are fighting each other over who was harassing so and so. When we have such kind of leaders, we are not going to be taking the issues of insecurity really seriously. It's unfortunate we're in this situation. So what I'm going to really point out, that with the way we are going, it's going to be difficult, because I found out that all these jihadist movements and so on and so forth, sycophants have found an opportunity to spread their psychophancy and brainwash a lot of people into that psychophancy. At the end of the day, you find out that there's one man who actually has no value for life, who feels that any life is meaningless, and they find maybe a section of a movement or an idea that has been pushed on centuries, and they decide to hold on to that and start recruiting people and brainwashing a lot of people. That was how ISIS started. At the end of the day, you find out that what these guys are actually fighting for, at the end of the day, dominating certain regions and so on and so forth, it's not something they can accomplish. At the end of the day, they will just find a way to create a lot of destruction, waste human lives, and that is why authorities in any part of the world where they find out that there's such kind of opportunities for people to come in, they should try as much as possible to debate in the board. Back when Osama bin Laden issue started, Nigeria was listed back in 2001 among the countries where Osama bin Laden said that they should go and start saving those countries because he believes that those countries should have jihad spreading Islam. And imagine such kind of information as at 2001, and in 2025 we're still fighting the same thing. We find out that people are doing cover up. Some people are acting as agents and nobody brings them to book. Justice is not served. At the end of the day, a lot of compromise. You begin to find out that it looks like those you are even expecting to fight the problem, they are even encouraging the problem, and we're in a difficult fix.
We are in a difficult fix. Let's talk about, for a few minutes, Atiku accusing President Tinubu of using LG autonomy to woo governors into the APC. Atiku actually made the accusation while reacting to recent comments by the president in the Supreme Court judgment that granted autonomy to Nigeria's local government council. According to Atiku, he says the way the president is handling the matter shows a lack of political will and respect for the constitution. Now, the president had called on state governors to comply with the judgment, and Atiku is saying, why are you warning governors? Why are you did like these are veiled threats? You keep telling governors comply, oh, comply, oh, comply. It feels like the president is dangling this as a carrot to rabbits for the governors, like, oh, LG autonomy, come to APC. Do you think that's what's happening here?
Yeah, I think that's a bit confusing because normally the LG autonomy is supposed to take off the power the governors have over the local government chairman. That is what the local government autonomy is supposed to be doing, except where he's saying that you can get away with still holding on to the local government when you join the APC and will look the other way. Because I understand that it's supposed to be a situation where they receive direct funds from the federal government purse, not the other way where the state governors receive the allocation and determine which local government chairman receives this and what you are going to use this for. But when they have autonomy, that means you can decide not to support the governor in the next election because you are getting your funds direct from the federal purse. But if he's saying, okay, come to APC, when you still hold on to these funds, we'll look the other way, then maybe that means it's just like saying this and doing something else. But I think maybe Atiku has found a loophole in all of the local government autonomy that's just a jamboree. I think he should come correctly and give us evidence of fact that this is what is actually happening. You cannot just say that, okay, he's using the local government autonomy as a weapon to get the state governors to join the APC. And I think as the sitting president, there's nothing wrong in him playing politics and to make sure he wins the next election in 2027. It's not left for the governors to see this as an opportunity to serve and say, oh no, let's do it the right way. You've already said local government autonomy, we're going to operate that. But of course, how many governors are sincere in Nigeria at the moment? And for instance, it looks like it's only the southern governors that have been bowing to the pressure of joining the APC. Look at the South, which all the governors are now in the APC. Apart from the northern governors who looks like they've stood their ground and decide to stay in their political party, most of them have decided not to shift ground.
How many northern governors though? Anyway, while we're actually talking about the situation, governors defecting and all of that, right? We know that a lot of them are with the APC right now. But with this situation, do you think like Atiku has a point with like what he's saying? Is he telling the president to come correct? Or is he just acting as an opposition here and trying to poke a hole in everything the president says or does in any way he acts?
Yeah, that is what is expected of an opposition leader like Atiku. And anyway, he came out late, but I'm surprised Peter Obi has suddenly gone cold in all of the criticism and trying to point out the errors of this government. But I think Atiku is a big player, is a big fish when it comes to politics in Nigeria, and of course if he's making comments, people need to take him seriously.
He's also been speaking though, but here is one thing, when Atiku described this as warnings and threats, it brings to bear the question of the president is telling the governors, make sure you comply with this. You recall when police orderlies were withdrawn from VIPs and then the police were telling Nigerians, say, report any policeman you see following a VIP. Then we also have issues of court orders. It's almost like everywhere you look, orders are being flouted. Are we in a disorderly society?
Disorderliness has been the cause of this administration, where the president will give an order, somebody else will be flaunting it, and nothing will be done to that person to at least create an example. And it's not really a way to go, because the rule of law has been thrown into the dustbin. The abuse of power has become the order of the day. Governors do what they like, even local government chairmen do what they like, because they have joined the ruling party. Anything goes, and that is not a way to rule a country. Because at the end of the day, it might create a sense of that you can get away with anything, and that might result to anarchy. We have not gone into that stage yet, because at the end of the day, we have a lot of people who should not be in the ruling party who are there because they know that once you're there, all things have passed away, all things have become new. That is not supposed to be the way. If you're guilty, I think back then, was it under the Goodluck Jonathan government, the rule of law should stand. And remember the times of Yaradwan, of course, even Obasanjo's government, during those times, we find a situation where a speaker was found guilty of corruption of doctorate as much as his school certificate, and he was impeached. Would that happen now? No, definitely not. We see situations where corruption cases will drag on and drag on and drag on. At the end of the day, the person joins the ruling party and they say to your turn to Israel, everybody is good. But that is not supposed to be the case. But unfortunately, the rule of law is being flaunted. The judiciary is not even left out of the whole mess. We've seen cases being determined, and you begin to get surprised and say, how come this case was decided this way? And of course, it makes you confused, because when you read the Constitution, it says this, but what is happening in court is different from what is written in the Constitution. It's really amazing, but it's really a sad situation.
Really amazing, but a sad situation. Jerry Apello, I must thank you so much for joining me on the World News at 6 this evening. I really appreciate your presence.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You have been listening to the World News at 6 on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. Just before we wrap up, let's take a look at the top stories again. You heard that Nigeria has confirmed the U.S. security cooperation after airstrikes on terrorist targets. 5 injured, buildings damaged as military begins investigation into Kwara explosion. Police arrest 8 Yoruba Nation agitators for roadblocks and assault in Ogun State, and the National Assembly directs re-gazetting of new tax laws amid controversy. And that is a wrap on the World News at 6 on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. My name is Chioma Innocent. Good evening to you, and thank you for listening. Do stay tuned. Evening Rush comes up at 7 p.m.